Well, speaking of New Bedford and local athletes coming from the city, we had some local athletes. Well, we had some athletes come to the city this year with the first ever.
You are the suave. You are so suave. That's how you get from the NHL to the New Bedford Bay Sox, right there.
That was a Brian Pothier-like transition.
That's just buttery.
That's a segue that you could scoot on. All right, number 7 on our list of the top 10 stories of the year is the first year of the New Bedford Bay Sox. And it was a success in terms of bringing the team to the city. And
that is correct.
And drawing attention.
The team played games.
They went 17-24.
Sold tickets.
Which is...
they made the playoffs.
Yes.
That, as they said throughout, you can't knock a season where a team makes the playoffs. Even if it's a 12-team league and 8 teams make the playoffs, they're still better than 4 other teams.
Mm-hmm. It was a learning experience for sure, the first year here in the Whaling City.
It was a learning experience for us, and I think it was a learning experience for their ownership also. Robin Wadsworth and Rita Hubner, they had bought the team in Torrington, Connecticut for the New England Collegiate Baseball League, had bought it the previous year. They played 1 year in Torrington, and then they moved the team here. And this has been their first 12 months able to really establish a team and run it in the same place. And this is something they're trying to do. There's no bones about it. They're trying to make a profit doing this. Mm-hmm. And they weren't able to do it the first year in Torrington for any number of different reasons. They weren't able to do it this year in New Bedford. They had told me toward the end of the season that it looked like they'd lose about $15,000 at the end of the year, but that accounts for expenditures that they had to make to move the team, merchandise they had to buy, and also they were very strong charitably. I'll give them major credit for getting the city charities involved, getting kids to the games, getting families out there. They've made no secret that their success is going to be based on families and local youth groups and things like that, and they certainly have a long way to go in making connections with those leagues. But for a year that they had to deal with a lot of rain, they had to deal with a lot of people who didn't really know what to expect from them, they put together a product that caught a lot of people's attention during the summer, and they sold more tickets than both the Wareham Gatemen and the Bourne Braves, which are the 2 teams in the Cape Cod Baseball League closest to us. They sold more tickets than those teams were able to draw with a pass-the-hat sort of persona. They don't sell tickets, but
well, and to end up, what'd you say, $15,000 in the red?
About 15 in the red is what they had estimated.
And when you're talking about moving the team, and as you said, buying new merchandise, that shows that with a year under their belt, they can be successful in New Bedford as soon as next season, this year.
I'm interested to see what happens to them for the next year, because we've seen the newness kind of wear off now. Mm-hmm. They came in last December. There was a lot of excitement out of the gate. That December to when their season started in June, there was a lot of build-up to it. This is going to happen. This is the first time the city's had a baseball team like this in half a century. The season got here, and it was almost like, okay, now we have to figure out how to do this. They had a lot of interns come in. There was not a lot of paid positions that they were working from. They got a lot of help from a lot of people. They got a lot of help from a lot of businesses. The majority of their ticket sales, I feel safe saying the majority, were tickets that were bought by businesses that had hooked up with the Bay Sox to sponsor, and whether or not they were used, they were counted in the attendance, and that's fine. But now it's more about the product. This team has come here now. And now they have to learn from the mistakes that they made in the first year, and they admit, and we'll say it for them, that mistakes were made. They didn't get their name out enough in city events. They weren't involved in the half marathon here. They weren't involved so much in Summerfest. They didn't connect with all the little leagues or the youth groups that they needed to connect with. They have to get themselves out into the community now, and they have to find a way to get their message out. Hey, we're here and we have a baseball game tonight. It can be done. We've seen it. Newport is not a real prime example compared to New Bedford, but there's a tangible connection between the Gulls team, which won the championship this summer and I think has won 3 since they joined the league. There's a tangible connection between that community and the team. That needs to be established here.
Well, on the field, they did have some problems early on. The original manager stepped down, and they brought a new manager in during the course of the season. And they did have a lot of player movement, as is expected to happen at that level of baseball.
It was horrific. I mean, they had, in just their playoff series, they lost a player to an arm injury. They lost a player to a death in the family. They had a player had to go home for a family wedding. They basically had 2 teams this summer. for Kirk Frederickson to even get them, the GM to get them to the playoffs, he basically had to rebuild a second team on the fly. It's hard to really judge the on-field product, honestly, because they had so much turnover.
How much in these leagues, John, did we get, enough turnover so that the continuity is difficult to establish from an on-field basis to begin with?
I think there's some of that. It's just such a short season. You're dealing with about 40 games. There's not going to be the sort of camaraderie that you'd see, with the Red Sox when they talk about this clubhouse has been together, these players are friends. Obviously, all the players that are coming here all have a common goal. They're all college players. They weren't necessarily, they didn't draw interest from the big collegiate leagues like a Cape League. But the NECBL is gaining in prominence, and they get a good quality of player, not a great quality of player.
Well, they had the #1 pick in the draft on the team when they were back in Torrington.
They did, but that's more of an outlier, and they'll admit that as much as everybody else. You're getting a lot of players from New England colleges. That's what the league was started for, and there's been some expansion. We saw some freshmen from some big Pac-10 schools, some players that have not yet established themselves can come here and use this to kind of establish themselves.
Well, I was going to say one player who did was Alan Fredrickson, who played infield, and he won Defensive Player of the Year.
The son of the GM. Now, he's a junior college player. He's not someone who's going to have a career at the major league level, and that's obvious. But it gives him a place to play, and he's a good player, and he can go out there and do the job, and he can create an interesting what's the word I'm looking for? An entertaining brand of baseball, and if the team is good, I think people will come out if the team can get its name out there, which I don't think it's done really yet. So,
well, I'll give one final piece of advice to the Bay Sox owners and everybody in the NECBL for that matter. When Freddie Prinze Jr. comes and says he wants to make a movie, say no.
Hey, the Cape League survived. They're doing great.
Well, they had 100 years of history behind them when that happened, so it's easy to get past that.